Hey everyone, my name is Sam.
And I'm Melissa.
And welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about how growing up in polygamy has affected our parenting and the way I look at parenting.
Yeah, and I thought this was a really good question that we got from a good family friend. And they were worried that it was a little bit too personal. And I wanted to remind all of you, in addition to them, that there's no question too personal.
Yep.
Please put in the comments any questions that you have. We want to make videos that are about things you want to hear about. And so feel free to leave comments below with your questions.
And I'm an open book. So, any question I like to talk about. So I will answer any question the best that I can.
Yeah. And I thought that this was actually a really good one because I feel like with his upbringing, it affects our family in a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. And luckily, Sam's the type of person that I feel like it's affected our family in a lot of really positive ways.
Yeah. Well, I've been able to look at some things that I saw growing up, and it change the things that I didn't like and keep the things that I did like.
Yeah, and I feel like that's how it is with any time you're trying to be the best parent that you can be. That's kind of what you're doing, is you're looking at how you were raised and doing those adjustments.
Yeah.
And so obviously his growing up was a little bit different. Yes. I'd say the first way that it probably affected us as a married couple in deciding was how many children we wanted.
Yes, and in fact, I got this question a lot. People will say, "Well, you grew up with so many brothers and sisters running around. I imagine that's something you would want to have for your kid, for your family." And no.
Well, I'm not down to have 12 kids, so that really nipped that one in the bud right from the beginning.
Or a sister wife, right?
Or a sister wife. Not down for either of those. So that really limits the amount of children that we can have to begin with. But mainly, we may joke about it, but we have a little girl and a little boy, and we love it. We just feel like our family is so complete.
Perfect, yeah.
And I feel like when we kind of talked about how many kids, originally we thought, when talking before we got married, we thought that we would want more, 4 or 5 kids. Yeah. And then after having our 2, we just have known in our hearts that it was just like, okay,
perfect. Yeah.
This is how it should be. And I feel like that's how every family is. Like, you have to just go with your gut of what feels right, and you'll know when your family feels complete.
Right.
And that's how it was for us. And I feel like the main reason that we talked a lot about as to why that is because of kind of your relationship with your parents, especially with your father.
Yeah, and that's something that has kind of stuck with me, is with so many brothers and sisters growing up in the same household, it was difficult to have one-on-one time with specifically my father, and even sometimes my mother with how many children she had. But specifically with my father, I didn't really get a much one-on-one time with him. Most of the time, if it was one-on-one time, it was because I did something I shouldn't have. So
when you get in trouble.
Yeah, but so it was definitely a little bit. I want something different for my kids. I want them to have that personal relationship and to be able to come to me at any time, with any questions or concerns or anything they need or want. I want them to be able to come to me. And that's not something that I really was able to do, just because there were so many of us, and father had so much going on and so much on his plate all the time.
Yeah, because he was in church leadership and community leadership and a lot of other things, in addition to having 4 wives and 35 biological children. So you can't blame him for not being able to have a lot of one-on-one time. But I feel like with our kids, he does I can brag about you for a second, pretend like you're not there. But he does a really good job of, that's something that he's always desired, and does an amazing job of giving them that one-on-one attention. And they both just love and adore it. Every single day when Daddy comes home, it's like the best thing ever. And every single morning, the first thing they ask is, "Where's Daddy?" to see, he's at work. And so
and with Mother, something good that I did take from what she did is, even with 12 children, she did make sure and go out of her way to make sure that she would pull us aside and have a one-on-one relationship with each of us. So I thought that was really amazing, especially with how much, she had going on and how many children she had.
I can't imagine.
So,
having that many children. What was your favorite memory of something that you and your mother would do together?
oh man, something that really stood out and still remains a great memory in my mind is she would on occasion take me, and I'm sure she did it with other of her children as well, but I remember her taking me aside, and she would she would take me to a store, and we'd buy a cantaloupe, and we would buy some vanilla ice cream, and we'd go to one of the parks in town, and we would cut the cantaloupe in half and scoop the seeds out, and in place of the seeds we would put a couple scoops of vanilla ice cream in, and then we would just sit there and talk and enjoy some cantaloupe and ice cream. So that was something that was really special, I would say, and has always stayed with me.
Yeah. And another thing that we've tried to continue a tradition, I'd say, from his family too, is that we grew up in southern Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us did, actually.
Yeah.
But his family had a tradition of going up to Pine Valley Mountain every single year and going and spending time up there. Did you guys camp as well?
It was for Father's birthday.
Oh, okay.
It was for his birthday, and we would go up, and typically, no, we would not camp.
Oh, okay. that would be a lot of people to prepare a camp for, but...
No, that was camping. That's another story. We did camp. We did go on some camping trips. Not typically out on Pine Valley Mountain, but we did. We did go on some camping trips, and that was a big outing.
Undertaking.
Yeah. But for his birthday, we would go up and just spend the day. We would spend the day and have a good time and celebrate once a year as a family, and actually even extended family. So it was a big group of people.
Yeah, so that's something that we've tried to continue as well, is to try to go back up to Pine Valley Mountain and see the places that he used to play as a little boy, and there's like this tunnel with the waterway that he used to talk about. The first time we went up after being married.
It was so much bigger. I don't know how, but they shrunk it somehow.
Because the first time we went up after being married, before we even had kids, and he was like, there's this huge tunnel that the river goes through, and it's just so massive. And I remember as a little boy, and so we went to go try to find this tunnel that he had played in as a little boy, and when we got there, it was like, he wouldn't even be able to stand up straight in it now. And it was way too funny. One of those moments where you're like, when you're little, everything's so big.
That can't be the same thing, right?
No, couldn't be. Things like that, we definitely try to find ways to incorporate like traditions.
Right. So a lot of good things and good memories, honestly. And I know that some people that grew up in that community might say that it was a lot of negative, a lot of bad. But honestly, it was very different, but but I got a lot of good out of it. And I think that there are some things that I'm able to look at now and help me be a better parent because of the experiences I had growing up.
Yeah, and that's something I've always really admired about Sam, is that I feel like in any time you grow up with like unique situations, you can choose. You have the choice to be able to say like, I can choose to grow from it and take the good, or you can choose to look at the negative and kind of have a negative attitude. And Sam's always chosen to be positive, and we try to take the best things from him growing up and the things that he learned and incorporate that into our family.
And we're still learning new things every day, though. So
parenting on its own, like, man, that's like a whole other video. That's a whole other adventure that you can never be fully prepared for. But yeah, that's kind of how it's affected our parenting.
Short version of how it's affected,
And again, if you guys have other questions about anything, whether it's how it was for him growing up, whether it's about, I don't know, something specific about parenting, anything like that, like leave questions in the comments. We'd love to answer your questions. And if you like videos like this, then please like and subscribe.
And we'll talk to you soon.